Hello everyone, welcome to the video lecture series on microprocessor and peripheral interface. In previous session we have started 8255. There we have seen the features, pin configuration and functional block diagram of 8255. In this session we are going to cover the operating modes of 8255. So 8255 operating modes. So this 8255 IC, it provides the control word register which is called as CWR. This operating modes can be selected when our A0 is 1, A1 is 1, CS bar is 0 and write bar is 0. The read operation is not allowed for the control register. There are two different control word formats which specifies two basic modes of 8255. That basic modes are nothing but beat set reset BSR and second is input output mode. And the selection of these two modes is depending on the D7 bit of control word register. If this D7 bit is equal to 0, then the BSR mode of 8255 is selected, and if D7 bit is equal to 1, in that case the input output mode is selected. Now first we'll see the beat set reset mode. It is also called as BSR mode. This BSR mode is a port C bit set reset mode. Means in this case the bit of port C can be set or reset by using this BSR mode. In this mode the individual bits of port C can be set or reset. As we have seen, if the MSB of control word, that means D7 bit, is 0, in that case 8255 works in BSR mode. This is the control word register format for BSR mode. Here, as we have seen, the D7 bit is equal to 0, D4, D5, D6. These three bits are don't care. D1, D2 and D3, these three bits are used for port C bit selection, and D0 bit, it is used for set or reset specified bit of port C. Means the port C bit which is selected by D1, D2 and D3, that bit is either set or reset, that is indicated by this D0 bit. If this D0 bit is 0, that means that port C bit is reset, and when this D0 bit is equal to 1, that means that port C bit which is selected by these three bits, that bit is set. So this is our control word register in case of beat set reset mode. Here we can observe if these three bits D1, D2 and D3, if these three bits are 0, in that case bit 0 of port C is selected. If it is 1, 0, 0, bit 1 of port C is selected. If it is 0, 1, 0, port C bit 2 is selected, and so on. And if these three bits are equals to 1, 1, 1, in that case the 7th bit of port C gets selected. So this bit set remains set until we change the bit. If the BSR is selected, it will not affect the input output mode. Only one bit of port C is affected in case of this bit set reset mode, that is BSR mode. This BSR mode only affects one bit of port C, and that one bit is represented or selected by D1, D2 and D3 of controlled word register, and whether it is set or reset, that is indicated by the D0 bit of controlled word register. Now next mode is input output mode. So as we know, if the MSB of controlled word, that means D7 is 1, in that case our 8255 will work in input output mode, means input output mode is selected when D7 bit is equal to 1. This input output mode of operation is further divided into 3 different modes, that are mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. Mode 0 is called as basic input output mode, mode 1 is called as strobed input output mode, and mode 2 is called as bidirectional input output mode. These input output modes are programmed by using the controlled word register. There are slight changes into this controlled word register format for BSR and in this input output mode. So this is the controlled register format in case of input output mode. As we can see here, the D7th bit, it is equal to 1, that indicates that our selected mode is nothing but input output mode. Now this D5 and D6, these two bits are used for mode selection of port A, or we can call it as a group A mode selection. Now that group we have seen in the functional block diagram that there are two groups, group A and group B in 8255. Group A consists of port A and port C upper, and group B, it consists of port B and port C lower. So this D5 and D6, it is for group A mode selection. So if these two bits are 0, 0, in that case mode 0 for group A is selected. If it is 1, 0, mode 1 for group A will be selected, and if it is don't care, means this bit is don't care and this is 1, in that case mode 2 for group A will be selected. Now next is D4th bit. So this D4th bit, it is IO function, that means input output function of port A, or we can say it as for the group A. So if this D4th bit is equal to 1, then it will indicate that our group A is having input, and if it is 0, then it indicates it is output, means port A is acting as input, and if it is 0, port A is acting as output. D3 bit, this D3 bit, it is related again with the group A selection of IO function, and here it is related with the port C upper. That means the PC4 to PC7 bits of port C, the function of these 4 pins of port C can be indicated by this D3 pin. So if this D3 pin is equal to 1, then wait a minute. So here it is for port C upper input output function. If this D3 bit is equal to 1, port C upper is acting as input, and if it is 0, it will act as output. So port C upper, it consists of PC4 to PC7. These upper 4 pins of port C are called as port C upper. After this there is D2 pin or a D2 position of control register. So this D2, it is related for mode selection for port B. Now we can call it as for port B or group B. So that group B consists of port B and port C lower. Port B is PB0 to PB7 and the port C lower, it consists of PC0 to PC3. So for mode selection of port B, this D2 bit is used. If this D2 bit is 0, it will indicate that mode is M0, that means mode 0 is selected, and if this D2 bit is equal to 1, mode 1 for port B is selected. D1, this bit is related with input output function of port B. Now if D1 bit is 1, it will indicate port B will act as input, and if it is 0, it will indicate that it is acting as output, means port B will act as output. Now next, the first bit of control word register D0. So this D0 bit, it is related with the selection of input output function of port C lower. Port C lower consists of PC0 to PC3 bits. So here, if this bit is 1, it will indicate that port C lower is input, and if it is 0, it will indicate that it is the output port. So this is the controlled word register format for input output mode. Now from the explanation of this control word register, we may have observed that in group A there are 3 modes: mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. That means port A will act in 3 modes: mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. While group B, it is having only 2 modes of operation, mode 0 and mode 1. That means port B will work only in mode 0 and mode 1. So this is the control word register format for 8255 input output modes. So when 8255 is reset, it will clear the control word register contents and all the ports are set to input mode. The ports of 8255 can be programmed for other modes by sending appropriate bit pattern to this controlled word register. So as we have seen that the input output mode of 8255, it is again further divided into the 3 modes: mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. The details of these modes we'll study in our next session. So here in this video lecture we have seen the details about bit set reset mode, and we have also studied the control word register format of BSR as well as input output mode. Thank you for watching the video.